Alright, what's going on, guys? Elden Ring is a massive game. This is one of those experiences where, no matter how much we figure out, we're only ever gonna feel like we scratched the surface. Whether it be the lore, the gameplay, or small features and Easter eggs tucked away in the open world, we're gonna be finding stuff like that for years to come. So today I want to highlight 10 really cool community discoveries that you probably didn't know about. So let's go ahead and get right into it. The first one I want to talk about today is a secret animation that can be found in the god-devouring serpent fight. Now, the snake itself doesn't have a whole lot of attacks, but one of the most annoying ones that it does is the grab. Thankfully though, its grab attack does not do nearly as much damage as the rest in its arsenal, so the chances that you died from this are probably pretty low. But it was recently discovered that in the off chance that you do die to the grab attack, the god-devouring serpent actually eats you, and the camera tracks your descent all the way down its throat. Now, we've seen animations like this before, specifically with the sharks in Bloodborne, but it really makes me wonder what other attacks have some secret animations that we may not have discovered yet. One of the things that's been speculated on the most when it comes to Elden Ring is whether or not the game is going to have DLC in the future. The story of the game definitely leaves a lot more room to be explored, and there are many locations like the Colosseums around the map that look like they should be accessible but aren't. But we may have a pretty solid clue of where we could be heading if we do get DLC for Elden Ring. It was discovered that if you trace to the midpoint of all the Divine Towers, they intersect above this cloud in the center of the map. Now, a lot of people dismiss this just as a design choice for the aesthetic of the map, and that since the area was inaccessible, they probably just pointed to the base of the Erd Tree. However, after people figured out a way to glitch out of bounds, something interesting was discovered at this spot. By doing the flying torrent glitch, people discovered that there's a random texture here that for some reason is completely unloaded. Now, it is important to say that this does not appear for everybody, but it has also been replicated enough to where this is not an accident. So you can speculate all you want about that, but personally I'm inclined to believe that this is a marker of some kind for the developers' future reference. But it is extremely interesting to say the least. The next thing I want to talk about today is that we may finally have a hint as to the meaning behind Melina's eye tattoo. Now, I literally just made a video breaking down a lot of the lore behind Melina and the speculation that a lot of us have. By the way, I highly recommend you go check that video out, but I wish I knew about this before talking about it, because you guys pointed me to a video by Bandit Games where he theorized that the marking on her face may actually be a crow's talon. Now, I remember a very long time ago after the Summer Games Fest trailer when we saw her for the first time, somebody told me that that's what it might be, and now I'm completely sold on it. When we take a look at them just side by side, it's pretty uncanny. They even bend in the same weird way. But if that's not enough for you, markings and wrinkles around that area of the eye are commonly referred to as crow's feet. So I'm fairly certain that's what it's supposed to be, but it's when we look at the lore that this starts to make a lot more sense. As we discussed in the last video, Melina has a very close tie to destined death. I won't go into spoiler territory here, but she mentions it several times throughout the game. And when we start to dig into theories around destined death, her character comes up over and over again. Now, if you want the spoiler details on that, watch my last video. But crows, as we all know, have constantly been an omen of death throughout history. A circling of crows tends to be a marker that something is dead nearby. So the seal on her eye being a crow's talon makes a lot of sense. So I genuinely think that is what it is, and this is a really awesome discovery. This next discovery is one that might save you quite a bit of time. If you managed to find Patches early in the game and picked up Margit's Shackle from him, it may be an item that seems utterly useless outside of the boss fight. But recently it's been discovered that Margit's Shackle can actually be a very useful tool in locating illusory walls. No, it's actually pretty efficient because it can clear out a room. You can see in the clip here that the radius of effect is pretty wide, so you may want to have it around the next time you go through a dungeon. Now, I assume this works for Mohg's Shackle as well, so if you have either one of those on hand, now you know what to do with them. These next two are going to go fairly quickly, and they do tie into each other, but they are equally interesting. Did you ever notice that the shape of the world in Elden Ring bears a very strange resemblance to the shape of the fingers that we find throughout the game? Now, I couldn't find the original poster of this, and it may just be a coincidence, but with From Software's notorious attention to detail, it could very well mean something. But did you also know that the two fingers have legs? If we look closely at the finger heirloom, we can see a congregation of worshippers worshiping the two fingers, but the two fingers have two small legs underneath them. Now that's something I hope we never actually see in game, and this could just be an interesting design choice, but if the fingers weren't weird enough for you, now you have an extra layer on top of that. This next discovery is one that I thought is really cool. It's a piece of cut content that I kinda wish was still in the game. This comes from Jester Patches over on Twitter, where he discovered 128 icons of different NPCs and monsters throughout the world, with a blacked out version and a bright version. And what he theorizes is that this is an early version of a bestiary that would have been in the game. Basically what that is a documentation of all the creatures throughout the world, where when you find or kill them, the icon becomes enlightened. So I'm not entirely sure why that was cut, maybe they considered it too spoiler heavy, but it would have been really interesting and given us a reason to go seek out some of the lesser mobs throughout the world. Adding to the list of cut content discoveries, Zully the Witch discovered that Torrent has several animations that are not present in the game, such as eating grass and a backwards kick attack. It was also discovered back in the network test that Torrent was originally meant to roam on his own, and that the player could go up to Torrent and then have the option to ride him. If you guys remember from a very long time ago, there was some old promotional material that showed the player resting at a campfire with Torrent standing nearby. So I wonder why they chose to cut this feature from the game. This next discovery is one that kinda blew my mind. If you do Lattena's quest in Elden Ring, then you know she's very close to wolves. But did you know that this goes so far that her spirit can even tame hostile wolves and ride them as a mount? Honestly, this is a crazy attention to detail by From Software, and like the Rykard animation, makes me wonder how many more things like this there are in the game. Because this is such a situational discovery. I mean, how many people are gonna be spirit summoning in a fight against wolves? And Lattena is honestly not a very popular summon. And it's discoveries like these that really tie into the lore that get me so excited to find other secrets in the game. So I love to see it. And the final discovery I want to talk about today comes from Lance McDonald over on Twitter, and is just one more example of the insane amount of detail that went into this game. Did you know that the nomadic merchants around the map that play music have uniquely animated hands that actually hit the correct notes for the songs that they're playing? So if you have the heart to leave them alive, you can at least appreciate the level of design that went into these little guys. But that's gonna do it for all the discoveries today. I hope you thought these are pretty cool. These are the kind of things that really make me appreciate From Software. And with a game like Elden Ring being so big, we're gonna be finding stuff like this for years to come. But anyways, that's gonna pretty much do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like on it and subscribe if you're new around here. And I'll catch you in the next one.